Hi everybody, this is Jennifer at Creative Art Spark, and I'm sorry about the state of affairs of my very messy desk, but I'm really excited because today I brought home from my favorite store, Scrappy Shack, some Mattints, and the reason I got them is because they're sheer colors, and I thought they would be great for Bible journaling, so we are going to experiment. I'm using my Creative Bible in the King James Version. I'm using my Sizzix stamp positioner. I'm using, let's see if I can find the Simple Stories stamps. Okay, I want to see several things. I want to see if the color is going to bleed through the page. I want to see if I can write on it, and I want to see if I can stamp over it. So I have turned to Revelation. And in my Creative Bible, the margins at the ends of Revelation have been written on. So I am at chapter 20, where Satan is bound, and I'm going to do a very short, very short demonstration. I want to talk about God's promise. We always hear God promises to keep us safe. God promises this. God promises that. God's ultimate promise to us, don't ever forget it, if we are covered by the blood of Jesus and we have been forgiven of our sins, God's ultimate promise to us, when he says he will keep us safe, is that he's going to take us to heaven. If you're feeling worried about the state of affairs of the world, or you're feeling worried about something going on in your life, just remember God's ultimate promise. He didn't promise that we would be safe here on earth, did he? No. He promised us that he would take us to heaven. And in heaven, there'll be no sorrow, there'll be no pain, no tears. In heaven, it's all going to be joy, and we will be there worshiping God. So I'm just using a few of these Mattints to see how they lay down on the page. That one kind of exploded. So we'll put some green down. I've put, let's see, what have I used? Ladybug. This one that just poured out was Fern. The one before that was Jam. Okay, so I'm going to use these three. And because I'm impatient, I'm going to dry them with a low dry heat gun, not the one I use for embossing. I'm going to use my Tim Holtz heat gun, if it'll stretch that far. Let's see. And the reason is because it doesn't get hot. I don't want to burn this stuff. I don't know how it's going to react to the heat. And I don't want to just warp my Bible pages all to pieces either. Okay, so back to what I was talking about God's ultimate promise to us. When our son was in the 7th grade, that September, 9/11 happened. That was, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most traumatic things to ever happen in his young life. He was terrified. He didn't feel safe anywhere. The only place he felt any safety at all was with me. And he worried about his uncle who was in the Army. And it took me months and months and months. Oh, that child. He refused to ride the bus anymore. He didn't feel safe on the bus. He would throw up on the way to school. I'd have to get the principal to come out and help me get him out of the car at school. We took him to all different kinds of doctors. We did everything we could think of. We did everything except put him on antidepressants. And after months and months and months and months of asking him, honey, what's wrong? Why do you feel like this? He finally told me he didn't feel safe and he was afraid that his uncle was going to get killed. And I sat there thinking, I have no words to tell my son that are going to give him any comfort, because I'm scared too, because I don't know what's going to happen, and I can't tell him what's going to happen if I don't know what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, God said to me, my ultimate promise to you is to take you to heaven. In heaven, there isn't any more trouble. In heaven, you are safe. So I'm in Revelation today, trying out these things, because Revelation is the end of the book. But we already know what the end of the book says. We know that God has kept us safe. We know we're going to go to heaven. And how awesome is that? So, now let's test my pen out. I'm going to write down here the end of the book. And it looks like we're able to write on it. You can see through it a little bit. It's bled through, but it's not overpowering on this back page. My K didn't look much like a K, did it? Okay, now let's try stamping on it. So this is a new stamp. I picked it up today at Scrappy Shack too. My husband, bless him, he's a saint. He took me to Scrappy Shack. All right, this we're going to lay right here. And we're going to bring this over here because I, as usual, don't know where my extender is. I'm going to press that down and I'm going to pick it up. And I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to look for some ink. I had some blue ink on here a minute ago. Don't know what I did with it. Why do I never know what I do with my inks? I probably knocked it off. So let's go with, oh, that's a pretty color. Yeah. Whoops. And you heard 10,000 things come avalanching off behind me. Okay, we're going to use Altenews Teal Cave. It's a crisp dye ink. I always have difficulty getting into them. So we're going to tap, tap, tap on this. You know what's great about a stamp positioner? If you don't do a good job stamping, you can always get it right back in the same place. Well, we might not in this case because I'm having to spread the page out. Let's take care of that. Let's put a paper clip on it so that it can't floof back up. Okay, let's see here. If we do this, and we do this, then maybe it won't floof out too awfully much. Alright, now, let's bring that down, and we'll rub it because those paper clips might be popping it up a little bit. Look there. That turned out pretty good. Okay, I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to write Holy Bible. Okay, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say God's ultimate promise. To take us to heaven. And And then down here, I'm going to say I read it at the end of the book. I read it in the back of the book. That is a great bluegrass song for those of you. What is her name? She did it with the Fairfield Four, and I can't remember her name, but it is an awesome song. You need to look it up. Okay, let's try one more stamp here. What have we got? We have My Story, All About Me, Write Your Own Story, This Is Me. Nope. Let's do the open book. Now I've pulled all those paper clips off. Of course. So I'm going to position this little stamp right here. I'm going to take this little stamp off. And y'all, I never thought about explaining this before. I know when I'm demonstrating, you see all these bruises and bandages and scabs and all that stuff. I have a puppy. I have a 4-month-old puppy, and she is still very, very, very mouthy. So don't be alarmed. Nobody's beating me or anything like that. It's my puppy. I forgot to condition my stamp. I have a stamp conditioning eraser somewhere on this desk. Barbie, quit laughing at me. But you can use your fingers too if you can't find your stamp conditioning eraser. Just run it on your fingers like that. Now let's get this positioned back on here. Okay. And whoops, that's still not exactly where I want it. There, that might do. Position it on your page and then make sure your page is where you need it to be. Okay, so let's hit it with that same. No, let's do. This is Catherine Pooler. It's a girl ink. Let's try that on these Mattints and see how that goes. So we know we can write on the Mattints. We know we can probably stamp different using, oh sorry, I didn't mean to shake the camera. We know we can stamp using Altenews ink. Let's see how we do with Catherine Pooler's ink. And we need a little more ink. So this is where we're going to really, really, really hope that we get this back in the same position. If we don't, that's okay. I know I'm not going to ever attain perfection, so I try not to worry about it too awful much. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll call that done. So rub the ink off of that real quick. Now I did have another stamp, and I don't know what I did with it. I'm always losing stuff, y'all. Always losing stuff. Okay, we're going to try one more thing, maybe. And what do you suppose I did with that other stamp? I'll find it after I get through this. There it is. Isn't it funny when you decide to quit looking for something, that's when it shows up. Okay. Alright, I want to try one other thing and see how these watercolor brushes do. I have to be really careful with them because, boy, they can glob the ink out. I don't want to come down here and I'm going to paint these pages. And I'm just making a mess, I can already see. But you know what? That's okay. we'll just outline this stamp. And my ink is probably not dry, but my watercolor brush is laying down quite well on the Mattint, which is what I was looking for, looking to see what would happen. Now let's try a little experiment here, and let's lift up some of that. And I like that. It wasn't exactly what I had intended, but I like it. Alright, let's try another color. Ooh, they're all spilling out. Let's try yellow and see what happens. These Mattint paints might just become my favorite paints. Now, the girls at Scrappy Shack did tell me that you can take chalk paint and intensify the colors on these. I've got chalk paints, but I'm not exactly sure where they are. So if you'll excuse me for just a minute, I'll go get them. Okay, the colors that I found in my chalk paint were pumpkin, lacquer, maize, and ballet slipper. And I think I'll use the pumpkin, excuse me, on the red. If I can get it open. And we'll see how that works. Ooh, what a mess. Ooh. Whew. Chalk paint stinks, y'all. At least this variety of it does. I have a very sensitive sniffer, and stuff that doesn't bother most normal people really bothers me. It might mean that I'm not very normal, but I'm not going to stress about it. Alright, we'll come along and we're going to paint over that. Just in a couple of spots, just to say that we did. Kind of do a little bit of, I don't know, abstract mixed media maybe. Okay, we're not putting that cover back on it. I probably should, but I'm not going to. That thing looks awful. I haven't touched these in a long time. That's probably why it looks so awful. I did a few things with chalk paint, but it wasn't my favorite. So I don't have a whole lot of colors. Let's try the yellow. My kids used to call yellow leather. This one may be dried up. It's not making any racket at all. It's never been used. Can paints go bad? I don't know. Maybe. It didn't mix very well, did it? Yeah, that probably needs to be stirred. Okay, again, this is an experiment. I don't have any set idea for how any of this should go. That one sloshes. Maybe it'll work. Okay. Ooh, I didn't use this one either. Yeah, I did. All right, this is the pink. Ballet slipper pink. My grandmother would call it pink. Pink. I have one grandmother that is from Appalachia and one grandmother that's from California. That's quite a mix, isn't it? My grandmother, who's from California, came to the South in the 30s, very early 40s, and I can't begin to imagine Oh my goodness, I stuck my arm in that. I can't begin to imagine what kind of culture shock she experienced, because she was from a city in California and we're very rural here, and I doubt that they had many of the modern conveniences of the city where my grandpa brought her. So that must have been quite the transition. I don't know how she adapted. I don't know if she adapted well to that or not, but that had to have been an experience. I'm going to come right in here, and then I'm going to come along these pages. Okay, that smeared the stamp, so we'll have to remember that. That was the Altenew dye, so paint will smear that. Alright, we have one more color left. You know, this page might look like a big mess to some of y'all, but when I look at it, I understand, because it has meaning to me because of what happened in our lives and the struggle that our son went through and the questions that he had and the difficulty that I had in trying to answer him. And I just thank God for giving me those words to give to him to try to help him at that time. And I know he remembers that, but I don't know if he remembers how scared I was at the time. I don't know if he knows how scared I was for him at the time. I was really, really, really scared for him. That was a tough time. That's all we're going to do right there with that, because I don't want to cover up the words. It's not as see-through as the Mattints. This chalk paint isn't, but it does intensify the color. Okay, so God's ultimate promise to take us to heaven, and I read it at the back of the book. I'm going to come down here and take up some of that. Yep. That's that yellow that I couldn't get mixed up real well in the chalk paint. Alright, let me dry this a minute and I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see it a little better. This is a nice quiet heat gun. Heat tool, excuse me. Nice quiet heat tool. Okay, so my page is a little ruffled, but after it fully dries, and I can close the book, it'll probably straighten back out. So what did we learn from this? Well, on the artistic side of things, we learned that Mattints won't block out the print. That was another thing I forgot to do. Let's see here. Sometimes my brain doesn't work real well. I want to come along here and I want to, yep. With the Mattints, this is the whole reason that I got these things. With the Mattints, you can still read your Bible words. So you could come along and add colors to the text if you wanted to. You see there? You can still see that. Okay? So we learned that with the Mattints we can still see the text. We learned that with Mattints we can write on it with an ink pen. That was what kind of pen was this? Sarasa Mark-On pen by Zebra. Okay? Kind of like a gel pen almost. So we know that we can write on the Mattints. We know that we can stamp on the Mattints. We know that we can take chalk paint and paint over the Mattints, but we also know we can't see the words if we use chalk paint on it. And we know that we can't paint over our stamped images because it will cause the ink to run if we use chalk paint on top of the stamped images. But the best thing that we've learned, the absolute best thing, if we're covered by the blood, we know that God's ultimate promise is to keep us safe. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.